Well, good morning and welcome everyone to Bottom Line's annual report deep dive with our CEO, Steve Colón. My name is Andrea Carter, and I have the privilege and great honor of serving as Bottom Line's Chief External Affairs Officer. I've been a member of the team here at Bottom Line for a little over a year now, and I'm based in Philadelphia. I also use the she, her series pronouns. I also, as a member of the team, get to lead and work with the talented individuals who brought this year's annual report to you all, namely our marketing manager, Natasha Rivera Ruiz, and the creators at Firefly Partners, which is a firm that we worked with to produce the annual report this year. But we're excited to gather today and offer a chance to hear from Steve, who I sometimes call our chief advocate for all things college access and success for first generation and underserved students who are aspiring towards their college degree. Before I hand it over to Steve, though, just some quick housekeeping points that we want to cover. Please be aware that we are recording today's session, and so we're going to share it afterwards. So I want to make sure that folks are aware of that. You'll notice upon entering, we have muted everyone, and this is just to help ensure a smooth presentation in case accidentally folks come off of mute and things of that nature. But don't worry, this is temporary. You'll have access to the Q&A chat and the tab. That feature is available for you. So if while Steve is presenting, you have questions that come up for you, feel free to drop them in the chat. And once we get started with the Q&A, folks will be able to come off mute, give voice to their questions as we get that portion of the convening started. Should you, though, have any tech-related issues, please use the chat feature and message Natasha Rivera Ruiz, and she'll be able to work with you to troubleshoot any issues in that regard. Thank you again just for joining today. We're really excited for the annual report and this opportunity to kind of meet some new folks, let you all know and engage with the things that are happening for us here at Bottom Line. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve.
Thanks, Andrea, and welcome everyone. Thank you all for spending a little time with us on this Friday, March 15th, the Ides of March. Super excited to be with you all and to share a little bit. We hope that this can be more conversational than presentation, and so we look forward to seeing your questions, hearing your thoughts. Andrew, next slide, please. For those of you who I haven't met before, my name is Steve Colón. I use the he series pronouns. I am the very, very fortunate CEO here at Bottom Line. I've been with the organization now since 2018, nearly 6 years, but I've worked in higher education and in the transition between high school and college for over 25 years. And you can tell because this is actually a picture of my student ID, and you can see my hair was much more lush and dark, and my hairline was much more on point back in 1994. But that's me. I am a very proud first generation college graduate. I spent a little time at St. John's University and got a couple of degrees there, and then moved on to SUNY Stony Brook, where I began my dissertation and my work towards my PhD, and then decided, ooh, I want to go do something different. And so that's where you see that master's degree there from SUNY Stony Brook is a transition in life. So it's a little bit about me. Hope you all have had a chance to review the 2023 annual report. Andrea, you can jump to the next slide. A couple of things I'll highlight. We're not going to go over sort of deep dive in there, but a few things I think I'll highlight from this year's report. One, I just always love to hear the stories of our students, to hear about their experiences in their voice, to hear about their transition into college, to hear about how college is going and their graduation, the achievement for many of them of a lifelong dream of earning a bachelor's degree, but also that big transition from college into their career life. As we know, that is such an important time and such an important transition. So to hear their stories is always very inspirational to me, and really the reason why we do this work. You'll get a chance to see the number, our students, their makeup and the number of students we've served. We traditionally have served, this past year, nearly 7,000 students. We've had this year, I think we had close to 900 graduates. And so really excited to see Bottom Line working across our our current regions of New York, Boston, and Chicago do just amazing work. And I can't tell you how special it feels to work alongside the staff doing that work, our advisors and the teams in the regions and the team on national to help those students be successful. You'll see how we've extended our reach in something new through learning labs. We are now supporting thousands of students through training other student serving organizations how to deploy the bottom line model with the students that they serve. We call that learning labs, and you'll see across new states and new localities and new students, bottom line, sharing what we've learned over the past 26 years to help folks be successful in their work with students on their way to and through college. You'll hear a little bit about some of our transformational gifts and some of our partners. As you know, about a year and a half ago, we received an amazing transformational gift from Mackenzie Scott. You'll hear a little bit about that. You'll see about our work and you'll hear more today about our strategy work with McKinsey and Company as their pro bono partners for the past 18 months. And you hear about our, and you'll see a little bit and learn a little bit and hear from our partnership with the Connor Group, who's helping us expand to our first new region in over a decade in Southwest Ohio. And we have our founding ED for Ohio on this call, James, and we're really excited about what this means for the Dayton and the Cincinnati area. We're so excited about that. You'll hear about how we've and see how we've strengthened our senior leadership team. For me, it was really important to make sure that we had the right senior leaders in place to be successful as we look forward. It's really important to me also that the folks who lead this work be proximal to the communities that we serve. And so it was important that our senior leaders share identities, share experience, have similar backgrounds, understand from being in close proximal life to the types of excitement and stories and challenges that our students face. You'll meet a couple of three of our new board members there. We are so excited to be expanding our national board of directors to include those three new leaders. And in particular, we have our first bottom line alum on our board of directors with Max Claremont, who I think is on this call. We are so excited to have folks who have been through our program sit on that governance function of our board. It means so much to us as an organization, and we are so excited to have his voice in that space. And then lastly, you'll see the great work of Andrea and Natasha and our external affairs team as we look at bottom line in the news. And there are all the different places, both regionally and nationally, we've been able to share our voice as thought leaders, as an organization that has done this work and done this work well for over 2 decades. We were excited to be highlighted, to talk a little bit about our work, both in the local regions that we're in, but also nationally. So we're really excited. We've had a tremendous year. We've kicked this year off to a really strong start as well. And so we hope you enjoy your read through our annual report. Next slide, if you could. So as we do our work and as we've set a strong foundation for growth, we also know that there are some challenges and some threats on the horizon. Not only do our students continue to face the traditional barriers and challenges of first generation students, of students who come from low income backgrounds, of students who come from underrepresented and underserved communities, the typical challenges they face transitioning into and through colleges that were not designed for them. We have seen the uptick of new threats that pose new challenges for bottom line students, for bottom line staff, advisors. We'll talk a little bit more about each of these, but everything from increasing messages and volume around whether or not a college degree still holds value in the world and in the future, and just how the media has consistently pumped out that message. We'll talk a little bit about structural changes to the way students apply for financial aid across this country and how that is causing some challenges for us. And then we'll see how the Summers legal decision, the Supreme Court decision on the use of race and ethnicity in college admissions is not only impacting college admissions, but starting to have a broader impact in our space. So let's just quickly talk about each of these. First and foremost, I have not seen as high volume in the last 20 some odd years that I've done this work as I have in the last 3 to 4 years around just large and persistent media messages questioning whether or not a college degree is worth the time and money that students are investing in it. I think this has a lot to do with the debt crisis that we are seeing across the country. But we have started to see, and we continue to see, these media messages. And this is research hot off the presses that was just published earlier this week from the Gates Foundation. And they've surveyed students in high school, and we have seen that prospective learners are starting to be dissuaded about going to college because they're concerned about whether or not the time and the money are worth it. We here at Bottom Line deeply believe that there is a way to get through college in an affordable path, and we deeply believe that a bachelor's degree is the most consistent and reliable way for an individual to see lifelong economic and social mobility. And so because of that, we remain consistently focused on helping our students understand that there is significant value. One of the data points that you'll see in the annual report that I am always super proud of is the debt load at graduation for our students. Our average debt is a shade under $17,000 at graduation for the graduating class of 2023, which is amazing in and of itself. And ironically, still $5,000 or $6,000 less than I owe on my college career still yet at age 48, somewhat 30 years later. And so to be able to start your career off with a bachelor's degree and manageable student debt, and to find that high quality first destination job, we know is transformational. And so we reject the narrative that college is not worth the time or money. You just have to be sort of intentional about how you approach those decisions. Next slide, please, Andrea. Recently, as those of you who do this work, who are close to this work, know the federal government was tasked to recreate the form, the FAFSA form, which is how students apply for federal aid, state aid in many states, and institutional aid. It helps those entities determine how much need a student has. FAFSA is a really critical part of all of Bottom Line students' journey on their way to and through college, because it helps get them access to the Pell Grant, to state grants, and to institutional grants. The federal government was supposed to create a new, easy-to-use FAFSA this year. It was originally supposed to be ready by October 1st of last year, which is typically when they release the FAFSA. But that was 3 months late. They did not open the FAFSA until the very, very end of December. And even once they opened it, there were challenges accessing the FAFSA. There was challenges staying on the FAFSA, and there was challenges with the system timing out. Additionally, because of the delays in releasing the FAFSA, there have been delays in getting that information to states and institutions and the federal government to be able to make important award decisions. What we have seen as a result is two things. One, you'll see from this chart, this year's senior high school class is 38% lower year over year in FAFSA completion than the last 7 years of FAFSA completers. This puts students at a significant disadvantage about getting in and getting through college. And while Bottom Line continues to work hard and with each of our students to complete and submit their FAFSA, and we are well on our way to doing that for all of our students, the reality is, because of the delay of getting the data in and getting the data out, many students are not receiving financial award letters from their colleges until early April, which then gives them far less time for them to make an informed decision. So what we are seeing about the decreased FAFSA rates and the issues around FAFSA has a significant impact on our students and college aspiring students nationally, and something else that's sort of threatening our mission. And then lastly, as I mentioned, last summer, the federal government, the Supreme Court, made a decision about the use of race and ethnicity in the college admissions process. And while that is the decision we vehemently disagree with, and we believe will have significant impact on college enrollment for years to come, as many of our students are trying to figure out how their identities and their race play into their decision to go to college and stay in college. We are seeing many states start to use that decision to expand their push against race and race identity and ethnic identity based scholarships and grants afforded to students, creating a farther and harder push on the likelihood that the students from underrepresented communities, many of the communities that Bottom Line serves, will be able to not only get into college, but afford college. Additionally, we have started to hear from many of our partners, and we've heard stories nationwide of corporations, as we think about our mission, helping students go far in life, of corporations reevaluating the way they look at internships and hiring practices, and doing away proactively with any programs that have race or ethnicity as a component of how students might be selected for those opportunities. So we continue to see an erosion and threat on our students' abilities to get into college, our students' abilities to feel comfortable in those institutions, to be able to afford those institutions, and opportunities for internships and career pathing, once they graduate. Despite these challenges, Bottom Line is not deterred. We believe wholeheartedly that we have a program and a plan already existing across the country that is strong and can help students successfully navigate these challenges. And thanks to our partnership with McKinsey and Company, we have built a strategic plan to try to bring that program to thousands of more students across this country than we've ever done in the past. Our strategic plan with McKinsey has really focused on three fundamental areas. First and foremost is we have one of the oldest and the most successful RCT-proven college access and success programs in the country. And so our first strategic priority is to expand that program to as many students as we possibly can. And that means both growing and deepening our commitment to the communities that we are already in, being able to serve more students in New York, more students in Chicago, more students in Massachusetts and Boston, as well as identifying new communities in new areas like Dayton, Ohio, where Bottom Line can be successful. And we are working every day to try to expand that and explore new communities that would want Bottom Line to partner with them to help their students get in, graduate, and go far. We have Brian on this call today, Brian Alexander, who's our Vice President of Regional Growth, who is helping us scour the country. Brian is earning more miles on his frequent flyer miles program than anyone I know right now, as he visits communities across the country, trying to build partnerships to see whether or not a Bottom Line program is viable in those communities. And we're really excited about the work that they are doing. Our hope is that in addition to beginning to serve students this fall in Ohio, that we will soon be able to announce a new region by the end of the spring. We have our fingers crossed, and we are really close to being able to do that, and hopefully be able to officially announce Detroit, Michigan as our new region in the springtime. I say that hesitantly because we're really working hard to make that happen. And I want to thank Brian for all of his hard work. And I want to thank each of the executive directors in each of our existing regions, Jeanette, Will, Victoria, and James, as they look to expand as widely as they can in their communities to serve as many students as possible. Our goal is to serve by the end of the decade, by 2030, be serving at least 20,000 students per year across those regions. Additionally, our strategic plan focuses on finding new ways to use our gold standard program to support students nationally. They include two new innovative programs. Our first is our chatbot AI-enabled program called Blueprint, where we partner an AI chatbot with a Bottom Line trained advisor to support students, even if they are not in one of our existing regions. We currently have over 1,300 students in that program, and we are seeing really encouraging results about their persistence. And this fall, we expect to see our first college graduates who are in our Bottom Line Blueprint program. And so we're really excited about that program's ability to reach students in new parts of the country where Bottom Line may not be able to actually stand up a new region. Secondly, Learning Labs. You heard a little bit about that before, our training capacity building program. And so it's really exciting to be able to train folks across this country in urban communities and rural communities, in places that Bottom Line could not potentially afford to build a brick and mortar presence, everywhere from the Rio Grande Valley to communities in Seattle and in the state of Washington and across the country. We have been training professionals through our partnership with NCEP, the National Council for Community and Education Partners. We have been training Gear Up professionals across the country to implement our program in a successful way with their students. And then lastly, we are partnering deeply to figure out how do we do all of this work in a more efficient way? How do we leverage technology? How do we better leverage data? How do we better leverage our systems and our interoperability, our partnerships across this organization to be able to serve our students in a more efficient and consistent way? The more efficiently we are able to support students, then the more students we can serve with the dollars that you all provide us and our champions partner with us to serve students. So we're excited. We have great partnerships to find different ways to support students, to find ways to use predictive analytics and artificial intelligence and large language models to help us get smarter about the way our advisors are supporting students, be quicker with supports where it's needed, the way we enter data, the way we support the scheduling of meetings, so many ways that we can use data and technology to be a stronger, more efficient, and more effective program, and we're really excited about that. And so we believe that not only would we be able to serve more students if we're able to do these three strategic priorities and be successful in them, we believe that by the end of the decade, we could see 18,000 more students earn their bachelor's degree than would have had Bottom Light not started on the strategic plan. So it's really ambitious, but we know, given the historical barriers that our students face and these new threats to their success that we just talked about, that it is our moral obligation as an organization to serve as many students as we can, given the fact that we know we have a high quality program. And I want to thank all of you. Some of you on this call come from key funders and partners who are funding and championing this work, whether it be growth, whether it be innovation, or whether it be efficiency. Your partnership means so much to us as an organization, and we can't thank you enough for being key partners along that journey. But that work, that the partnership and the funding that we have is really just a down payment on what is a really aggressive strategy. And we need as many relentless allies for our students, for our work as we can find. And so for those of you who are looking about ways that you can help us, we are always looking for folks who are willing to join our boards, either our regional advisory boards or our national board of directors. If board service is something that you feel compelled to, please reach out. Please get involved in one of our existing regions. Our regions have lots of ways for volunteers to participate, from board service to mentorship and other sort of ways that you can help our program be effective in those communities. Help us in our expansion into new regions. Brian would love to meet folks in your network who might be working in some of the cities that we're exploring, so that we can determine whether or not Bottom Line is a good fit in those places. Many of you have strong professional networks. We ask you to continue to help our students by volunteering and mentoring with our students, opening up your professional network to them, help them meet professionals. We know that things like a broad and diverse professional network, we know that things like career relevant work experience, we know that things like strong social capital about what possibility of careers are there out there for students are significant, have a significant impact on students' ability to not just find initial career success, but ongoing career success. So we ask you to partner and to volunteer and to champion the career work that we do with our students. And lastly, if you are in one of our regions, if you are in Boston, Chicago, and New York, I'd love to see you in person at one of our galas. We have our Boston Gala on Wednesday, May 1st, our Chicago Gala on Tuesday, May 14th, and our New York Gala on Wednesday, May 22nd. I'm excited to be able to go to all of those, and I look forward next year when we can add a Dayton party to that list. So those are different ways that you all can help, and in other ways, we encourage you to reach out to us, reach out to either to your local executive director or to Andrea and Natasha on this call. So I've said about 10,000 words, and I want to stop there and open it up. I'd love to answer any of your questions and or hear your thoughts about what you're seeing.
Folks can unmute themselves. You should see that option there, but we do have a question already in the Q&A from Louisa, and it says, would it be possible to create a short set of messages around the value of the degree, some key data and talking points to help refute the increasing noise that the degree is not necessary?
Absolutely. So we will share with you all. We will put together some talking points for each of you to have, and we will share that broadly with folks both on this call and outside this call. What we see is that the data shows consistently over and over again that students with a bachelor's degree will earn upwards of $1 million+ more in their lifetime than students without a bachelor's degree. What we see is that students with a bachelor's degree, folks with a bachelor's degree, are more likely to stay employed during economic downturn, are more likely to have long-term career success, are more likely to be civically engaged, are more likely to be physically healthy. There are so many ways in which a bachelor's degree pays, in which education pays. And so we are happy to share any and all information we have, and sort of push against the counter narrative that there are faster, easier options to long-term success. One of the things we often hear is that there's, a student go and get a credential and learn how to code and get a great first job. And I don't doubt that there are some programs where that is true. And there are some cities where that is true, where a student can get a credential and get a great first job. But at bottom line, we are worried about career success. We are worried about long-term economic mobility and social mobility. And there is no data that shows anything other than a bachelor's degree being that key to long-term success.
Thank you. Andrea, you're on mute. You're off of mute. Go ahead.
I can't see the chat, my apologies. But Steve, I wondered if you could expound on if there are folks on the call interested in board service, and what that looks like what's involved in being a board member, either within one of our regions or on the national board.
Yeah, absolutely. So, our board members are so critical, whether they be national or regional, in helping, bottom line, continue to expand our network of champions, of connecting us to new community champions, of new corporate partners, of new potential funders who help us deepen our ability to serve students in a given region. And so we have regional advisory boards. Those advisory boards are critical to helping students and helping the region be successful, sustainable, and persist in that community. As you all know, we make a multi-year commitment to students, and so we are looking for partnerships that help us keep those multi-year commitments. And so those regional advisory boards typically meet 5 times a year and really focus on strategic ways in which the board can help the region continue to serve students in a high quality way, raise the capital needed to support students, think about the future, think about partnerships that are critical from a student success perspective in those communities. What are the right industries to partner with? Who are the right corporations to partner with as we help our students make their way to successfully launch a career? On the national side, we meet 5 times a year. That is the fiduciary governing board of the organization. And they are really focused on organizational nationwide strategy, holding me as CEO accountable for that strategic plan that we just laid out, and really being critical partners to us as we think about the type of national network we need to be successful to achieve those ambitious aspirations.
Thank you. Another question that we have is there any way to help solve the FAFSA issue? I've seen a recent report on a nonprofit that is working to make government forms easier to use. Is that worth exploring?
Yeah, it absolutely is worth exploring. So the part of the reason why the FAFSA was delayed this year is because they were just doing that. They were under a new federal law was passed several years ago that had to take the FAFSA down from hundreds of questions and potentially multiple hour-long meetings to complete to a very short, what the federal government says would be a 15 to 20-minute form to complete. And so the aspiration was to make it much shorter and easier for students to be able to gain access to federal grant dollars and state and local grant dollars as well. But I think and so that has been done. What I would say is for those students who've been able, bottom line students who've been able to get in, you know, had their parents get in, have a bottom line advisor work with them. We are seeing 15, 20-minute long FAFSA completions. The issue has been in the operability of that system. For those of you who remember the release of healthcare.gov several years ago when the healthcare programs first started rolling out and there was troubles accessing the system and the system would see periodic outages. That is what's happening right now. I think the most important thing we could be doing to help FAFSA this year is making sure that every high school student has support to complete the FAFSA, that they are reaching out to their school counselors. If they're in bottom line region, they're reaching out to a bottom line advisor. If they are in a community outside of bottom line, that they are trying to find community partners that can help them access the FAFSA. The primary difference this year is that the student no longer has to bring the parents' financial situation and their income taxes. There's a connection with the IRS that pre-slugs that information, but it requires the adult's permission to be able to pull that data from the IRS. And getting parents the access code has been been most of the issue that we've seen across the country, particularly if it's a mixed status family or or if there's a family that is not if there are multiple folks employed in that family household. And so we've been working hard to try to help our students. But we should always continue to focus on that. The thing I would say, if you're in a region, if you really wanted to help students have a clear sense of what affordability looks like, please encourage your local institutions to have a much simpler award letter. At the end of the day, the biggest hill that our students face is trying to understand the letter they get from college saying how much they're going to have to pay. I can't tell you how many hours our advisors spent helping students decode what different colleges tell you about it, because every college has a different letter, a different approach, a different way of talking about what those dollars are. And so I would say that is one thing that you can do locally. In addition to helping make sure students have support to complete the FAFSA, is encourage your local institution and encourage your alma mater to have a much simpler award letter process.
Thank you. We have some comments in the chat encouraging all of y'all to help support our regional gala. So I'll let Louisa keep that chat in there. Thank you, Louisa. But we also do have a comment and question from Ned. So first, it is wonderful to see the ongoing growth and the strength of bottom line over what is now the many years. With regard to future plans for growth, are those plans now fully funded based on the transformational gifts that were recently received? Or do those plans mean that more fundraising is needed to implement those plans?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ned. We have had a tremendous cash infusion as what I would say is initial seed funding to this ambitious strategy. We estimate that our strategic plan will cost us someplace in the realm of $30 to $35 million over the next few years to fully execute. We've gotten a good chunk of the way there with the McKinsey Scott gift, which was 15. We've had significant great partnerships from local and national organizations that have come in to sort of fund different aspects of it. But we are still very clearly looking for new partners, both locally and nationally, to help us be successful. And so if you have connections to folks who would be interested and of making the type of impact that bottom line is able to make, we encourage you to do so. But please take a look at our annual report, and you'll see the list of many funders who've come in to help us start to kick off this strategic plan, both regionally and nationally. And so we feel really excited and honored to be able to have their partnership, and some of them are on the call today. So, I thank them again. But yes, the dollars we have raised are just a down payment on a much larger investment that needs to happen. And many of us, your local executive director, myself, Brian, and the national fundraising team are hard at work introducing Bottom Line to new folks, introducing our strategy to new folks, trying to get as many partners and champions as we can find.
Thank you. Y'all have any other questions or thoughts that you would like to unmute or put in the chat or Q&A?
I'd also just love to hear from you all as you sort of see this other parts of our strategic plan that feel more or less exciting to you. Would love to hear that. Thank you, Dr. Jones. One of the questions we've often got are, what are some of the cities that we are exploring and as for potential growth? And I'm going to share a few, and I encourage Brian to keep me honest here, as Brian is the one has many hotel points in many of these cities. We have, as part of our plan, we are currently in conversations with folks and partners on the ground in Detroit, in Atlanta, in Dallas, in Houston, in Fort Worth. We've had some initial conversations in Philadelphia and Los Angeles. And so as you can tell, there are a wide breadth of potential partners. Thank you. We would love to be in Atlanta. A wide breadth of potential partners. What our goal is honestly to be invited into communities. And to be able to be a core partner there. The last thing we want to do is push into a community that doesn't believe that there's space or need for Bottom Line. And so we are trying to be as intentional as possible as we make those partnerships and have those conversations.
Steve, I did have one additional request. If you could expound on a little bit, because we talk a lot about, our kind of slogan, if you will, at Bottom Line is get in, graduate, go far. And you mentioned the mentorship opportunities, right? Could you expound a little bit on Bottom Line Connect and how folks can really engage directly with students if they're interested?
Yeah, so we have this great new program called Bottom Line Connect, and it gives everybody an opportunity to find opportunities to connect directly with Bottom Line students, and to volunteer and mentor those students. Many of our students are really looking for folks who have, who are at least mid-career professionals who can help them understand what are the world of possibility of potential careers out there. What's it like navigating your way through the first job, helping students understand, practice to interviews, review resumes, think about building a stronger LinkedIn profile and presence, thinking about, what different corporations actually do and all the different roles an individual can have inside of a corporation, connecting students to peers who are potentially doing things inside of the majors that these students are excited about so they can know what it's like to work in those communities, helping students potentially access internships at the places of your employment, helping students think about what it's like to, once they start to graduate, make that transition into career, and also how to start that career off in a way that they're looking about not just that first job, but what does a career path look like in some of the corporations and some of the firms that you all have experienced. And so it's the type of work, Serena on my team, who leads a lot of our career work, has shared a link to Bottom Line Connect, and I encourage all of you to check it out. It's a great place to meet and connect with students. I'll share that I've been working to mentor a student myself over the last few months. We've connected. She wants to do marketing in the fashion industry, and we have a partnership with Coach Tapestry, the fashion brand, and we were able to connect her to key connections there. And she has been raving about starting to build that part of her LinkedIn network with folks who are working in the industry that she's excited about. And so that's one example, I think, of how you can be helpful to students. Any further data coming from the RCT? Great question, Louisa. So as many of you know, and some of you may not know, Bottom Line is one of only 2 organizations across the country and that have proven to have any impact on degree completion rates through sort of the coaching program that we have. And bottom line is the only national organization that has proved that on bachelor's degree attainment rates. And so we were part of a randomized control trial. We had two external researchers, Ben Castleman and Andrew Barr, both economists, travel and follow bottom line students and a control group for up to 8 years. And what they found was that bottom line students were 23% more likely to graduate in 4 years, 19% more likely to graduate in 6 years. And so we are so excited to be able to have a program that has proven efficacy. And we're able to match hard data with the many wonderful stories of our students' success. But what's even more exciting is that that research will continue. And so thanks to some funding from Arnold Ventures, who funded the first part of this study, Ben and Andrew will continue to follow our students as they progress through their careers. So they will be looking at things like debt load upon graduation. They'll be looking at things like salary of first job. They'll look at things, other sort of economic and social factors, career mobility, so that we can see just how long bottom lines impact travels inside of a student's life. So we're excited. We probably won't have data on that for a few years now as we are following students, but the follow-up study will follow these students for the next 10 years of their lives so that we can understand the longer term impacts. We're really excited. One of the things that gave us strength and optimism about our growth strategy was a key finding from that RCT was that our impact was consistent regardless of the student's identity and demographic background. So across all types of students, across our many regions, but also across all of our advisors, right? And so we saw 29 out of the 30 advisors in the RCT had consistent positive results. And so what we believe is that our program is not only highly effective, it is highly scalable. And that we have the ability to take our program into new communities and new places and have it be successful. That's one thing that I know James talks a lot about as we enter our space in Dayton, as he speaks with funders on the ground to assure them that what they are investing in will grant them a very strong return on that investment and a high likelihood of those students being successful, earning their bachelor's degree and progressing on to a strong career.
Thank you. Anyone else want to put in a comment or chat, start dialogue on anything that was shared, or you just have questions about bottom line in general? Ooh, we do have a question from Tim. It says, would you say that you are doubling down in positioning bottom line as the advisor of choice for students who are considering bachelor's degree programs rather than trying to also become experts in helping students navigate the many other options of widely mixed quality and potential?
Yeah, Tim, I think that's a great question. We are absolutely doubling down in that space. That is not to say that there aren't a lot of amazing other programs out there who are focused on students who are really looking for an associate's as their terminating degree or are looking at credential programs, non-degree credential programs. There are many amazing programs out there in the country that are doing that work. We support that work. We want them to do that work. We want to stay focused in our lane of expertise, and where our lane of expertise sits at that student who is degree aspiring for a bachelor's degree. And that's the work we know how to do. And that's the work we will remain focused on and double down on. It is both where we have expertise. It is also where all of the data shows all of the real impact for student outcomes. Unfortunately, you see a smaller positive pick for an associate's degree. And so we think that is an important degree for students to go after if that is what they're looking for. An associate degree, the impact on lifelong earnings and career impacts are not as strong as with the bachelor's degree. And for many of the credential programs, we just do not have any reliable, consistent data that demonstrates over time that those students are being successful and being successful in a way that leads to long-term success. So unlike the National Student Clearinghouse, we don't know how long it takes students to earn different credentials. Our students spending 2-3 years trying to earn a credential that should only take them a year. We don't have a good sense of what the job attainment rate after those credentials looks like. We don't have data on what salaries and versus debt load looks like for those credentials. And so there's just a significant amount of missing data and missing analysis on that. There have been research that has shown that those credentials, if stacked on top of a bachelor's degree, can still have benefit. And I know that there are plenty of jobs out there that just require that credential, and you can start off having a well-paying job, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year doing some of that work. But we continue to be focused on the students' long-term success. And many of those students who have that credential end up having to come back for additional post-secondary training to progress in their career. And so, yeah, we're doubling down on the bachelor's degree. That is not to say that we don't think that students who want to go that route shouldn't go that route. We're just not their right partner, and we will work to help that student find the right partner who will help them be successful on that path. Just won't be us. But thanks for the question, Tim. And it's always great to see you.
Anyone else?
Shanita has just shared a link to the full RCT. For those of you who are looking, I have a hard time getting to sleep at night. It is an academically written paper, and unless you that's your thing, it is written like an academic paper, and so it can be just as good as a warm cup of milk. But for those of you who are excited about academic papers, it is a wonderful read, I assure you. It's the kind of thing that I geek out on, so I've read it several times. And you can also see distillations of that in previous year's annual reports.
All right, I want to be mindful of time, so I'll kick the ball back over to Andrea to close us out.
Thanks, Natasha. Thanks everyone for joining us on a Friday. We really appreciate you coming and just to hear more about what Bottom Line is doing, some of our wins and successes over the last year. Before we go, I just wanted to raise up and reiterate just ways that you all can get involved. Hopefully you were inspired by some of the content that we shared today. And so just a reminder, whether it's getting involved with our existing regions, connecting with us to support us as we expand into new regions, Bottom Line Connect, our upcoming galas, there are just endless ways to get involved with us and partner with us and our students. From the folks on the screen. So Steve mentioned Brian a lot in terms of the work that we're doing for regional growth, myself serving as external affairs, chief of external affairs, and then certainly all of our executive directors leading our regions. So Victoria, James, Will, and Jeanette. To reach out or connect with any of these folks, we're going to drop our info@bottomline.org email into the chat. And that way, that message, if you want to connect in some way, will come to us here at External Affairs, and we'll be able to connect you directly. But again, just thank you all for spending time with us on a Friday. And please stay in contact with Bottom Line. We appreciate you all.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Have a great weekend. Take care.
Thanks all.